What up, YouTube? It's Misery Hates Company. In this video, we're going to talk about the things that I think Wolverine is going to need to be successful or even meta in Marvel Future Revolution. This game has tailored to very specific heroes, more specifically range classes for a while. In order to be successful as a melee class, you've had to be buffed pretty significantly, and I'm looking at you, Captain America. Captain America was in rough shape, and then he received a very, very, very healthy buff, and now is a very strong candidate for MVP and most things PvP. You do have to have him built out correctly, but still, it has taken a long time to see a non-ranged class or ranged hero, for that matter, be good in PvP. So what is it going to take from what we know about Wolverine as a character in the MCU, and or from other games, and especially from existing heroes already in Marvel Future Revolution? What kind of skills would he need to be successful? That's what this video is about, so let's jump straight into it. So first things first, we do need to look at some of the other melee champions that we have, or melee heroes we have in the game. So kind of the Black Widow is like a hybrid, and I would not rule this out as an option for Wolverine. You know, he could have, we saw in Marvel Future Fight, some of his like slashing abilities were actually had a pretty decent like length or range, I guess would be a better way of saying it. Or you could also just like slash around in a circle. Maybe it's like an iframe where he goes invincible, runs at a high speed, slashes all around, and then, you know, does a ton of damage. Moving forward, Captain America has one thing in particular that I feel like Wolverine has to have to be successful in this game, and that is a gap closer. His ability to charge in and jump on people is very, very efficient. It is something that you have to have in this game as a melee class to be successful. So in my opinion, one of several things that Wolverine is going to need to be a gap closer or a charge, like I said. Now, what could that look like for Wolverine? I'm imagining him like, you know, kind of like blood boiling. Maybe he even has like a rage bar type thing where like the higher it builds up, like the faster he moves, the faster his attacks are. I definitely think that Netmarble likes to make heroes very unique. You know, we saw that from Magic, very, very unique. We saw that from Scarlet Witch, very, very unique and very versatile. So I expect that if Wolverine truly is the next playable hero, that they're going to make him very unique. So I expect him to have a charge. That's something that he has to have to be successful. But also, I hope they really tie into maybe a different way of having abilities. Like, I hope he has a whole spectrum around his auto attacks. Can you imagine all passive attacks, like where all the equipped skills, well, maybe not all, but the majority of the equipped skills are all bonuses to either your health regeneration, and they're just passive like attacks that you have on all the time as long as they're equipped? That would be really cool. Very different, very, I guess, auto friendly for PvE in this game. But imagine like they all just power up his auto attacks, so that way, like, once you do jump on someone, so maybe like your first attack is the gap closer, and then everything else is a passive, and then you have like this rage bar that is your ultimate, similar to like Magic, where you work it up and then you just get enraged, where you get like higher percent of HP recovery even faster, you know, faster auto attacks, more damage. I think that's a pretty fair expectation for an ultimate for him. Otherwise, he's just probably going to slash all over the place, all over the screen, probably an iframe. But I definitely think one of those two ultimates would make sense based off the type of like hero that Wolverine is. Again, either the like power up or just tons of damage is the two that I'm talking about. But again, I think it'd be really, really cool to go a completely different direction and power up his auto attacks. I think that would be very unique, and it'd be really cool if that was just one specialization. So like you could build him full auto where he attacks faster. He applies maybe like a bleed of some kind. Now, that's actually something I wanted to mention. Something else that I feel like Wolverine has to have to be successful is actually not a bleed. The way that bleeds work in this game, similar to Iron Man and other heroes that have a bleed, aren't as effective as what I think what Wolverine would need it to be. In fact, I actually hope it's a dot or damage over time attack. Maybe it's a like hemorrhage, where instead of a dot, you are just hemorrhaging them, or you know, which basically means they're like bleeding lots of blood. So it's damage over time that is done because of like how, you know, deeply you wounded, or maybe it's called deep wound, and how deeply you wound them. I feel like I've seen that in other Marvel games. I think that would be a very cool mechanic, and that would also help him, in my opinion, defeat like a Captain America in close combat, where maybe it ignores shields. And it's just damage over time based off percent of health. Imagine that, huh? So maybe like the hemorrhaging or the deep wound is a dot based off of the opponent's maximum health. So it's more of like a tank buster type class. That would be really cool and very unique, and not unworldly to expect out of Wolverine. Because I think that he obviously would benefit well from defense penetration, just like the type of person he is, and actually just where the state of the game is in Marvel Future Revolution. I do think that would be really, really cool to tie into both HP recovery, HP in general, and then defense pen. Maybe even like they obviously have to make those yellow cores valuable, because right now the yellow cores are kind of like okay, but only really on Magic and Captain America. Both benefit well from a health, or tankier build. But how cool would it be to have a tankier hero that does a ton of damage? Now, again, Captain America and Magic, both in their own ways, can do lots of damage, but not as much as like a true nuker. I think it would be really cool for Wolverine to be able to take a hit, because that's kind of like the style that Wolverine is. And I think they like to keep to that like sort of style that the heroes have. We definitely have seen that with both Magic, Scarlet Witch, very caster friendly, but also like very just chaotic in some of the builds you can make, and just very unexpected and unpredictable, which is very much Scarlet Witch's like sort of like entourage, or like sort of motto, if you will. But I do think it would be cool to have it where maybe he doesn't have a lot of HP, but his HP recovery is so fast that like he takes a hit and then in a few seconds he is getting just huge chunks of his HP back. Where if you apply a dot to him, and I've seen that in other like games that have Wolverine in it, where like his sort of like counter, which would be good. You don't want to introduce a new hero that is unkillable. That's not beneficial at all. We have dots in the game. Scarlet Witch actually has several. Or of course being slowed down by like a Spider-Man and then just being blown up would be another way to kind of counter that fast HP recovery. So the idea is that you either apply a status effect that does damage over time that will slowly wear on Wolverine, or you just slow him down to the point where he can't get to you. And that's kind of like the idea for most melee classes. If they don't get to you, they don't do damage to you. Imagine that. But those are things that I feel like Wolverine has to have in order to be meta or just successful in this game. Like I said, a charge or a gap close, a bleed or a hemorrhage or deep wounding type ability that does damage over time. And then I would think it would be really, really cool to have a character that just builds towards auto attacks. How cool would that be? It'd probably be boring after a while, but just imagine how different it could be to have a character that is so different in that aspect. And that's only one spec, where he could have totally different specs that maybe make him more tanky or do more just sheer damage. I think all three sort of those like specs, like I said previously, would be very, very enticing and give you a versatile hero, which is I think ultimately what we're looking for. A lot of people love Scarlet Witch because there's a lot of different ways of playing her. And that's fun. It allows people to be creative. That's why I cannot wait for Scarlet Witch's transmute. I have deliberately not played Scarlet Witch, and I have her basically maxed out. And I mean, literally, all the skills are maxed out. All of the enhanced potential are maxed out. The specializations are maxed out. Like, I am ready for Scarlet Witch's transmutation. Just to give you an idea really, really quickly before we end this video, like I said, full enhanced potential when it comes to specialization. All of them maxed out. And I even have ones maxed out that actually I need to finish that one. I just realized that. But even I have some additional ones that I have maxed out that I don't really think that are going to be meta right now, but could be meta at a different point. Like this one, where when HP is lowered, you do a ton of like a quick explosion and inflict continuous confusion on attacked targets for 3 seconds. So not something that I think is going to be meta, but definitely something that could be viable with a different build. So I've definitely built her in that way. I, of course, have all of my cores ready to go. Cannot wait for all of these. And then my Omega cards, I have not touched. They're still sitting on my Iron Man. All those are coming over. And then, of course, the Rise of the East build to make her just do a ton of damage in PvP. I cannot wait to be able to do that. I really hope that Transmutate comes with the 1-year anniversary, because for me, that is going to re-engage my excitement in this game. I have played a lot of different alts in this time between of like Scarlet Witch's announcement, but I really want to be able to just play the hero who I want, which is Scarlet Witch. And for me, I'm definitely going to be able to make more content around Scarlet Witch about that, because I'm going to be playing her every single day. So if you want to see more content, both about Wolverine, Scarlet Witch, and everything in between, especially the builds, beginner's guides. I have all of that for you on this channel. So make sure you smash that like button and smash the subscribe button, because I got a lot of stuff coming your way and some big plans for Wolverine, including, and for those of you that have made it this far in the video, we're about 10 minutes in, I have a challenge that I plan on doing and enduring myself when it comes to Wolverine. If you want to see what that challenge is, make sure you smash that sub notification and ring the bell, because as soon as we know for sure when Wolverine is coming, I'm going to challenge all of you to also partake in this challenge if you're interested. It is a free-to-play friendly challenge. I will add that. But that's enough for the tease for right now. Until next time, guys, lock it in.